Thank you. Wow. This is surreal. Can I tell you that, sisters? This is surreal. It's one of those moments, you know, whenever you really understand that saying, be careful what you wish for. Veronica was very kind. She said I was on the planning committee of this event. In fact, I was only able to go to the first meeting, and life got in the way after that. But at the first meeting, there was this discussion that very often happens, I find now, when we begin to talk about profiling Belfast to the world, and it kind of goes in two ways. There are the people who think we are where we are now, a vibrant city emerging from the ashes. This venue tells us that, it shows us that. So let's not look back, you know. The war, the conflict, the troubles is over, and we're here now. And let's show the world how fabulous we are, and let's look forward. The other part of the conversation goes, but it's because of all of that we are who we are. You know, this is what we have to show the world. This is part of what Belfast can teach the world, is that despite that tragedy, the conflict, the extraordinarily painful experiences that many of us live through, we are a vibrant city, and so we have shown resilience, and it's the resilience from living in Ireland through those times that I think we can show to the world. And that's the part of the equation that I was at. So at that meeting, I said that I felt there should be an ordinary woman from Belfast up on the stage telling their story, actually mentioning that there was trouble, there was conflict, but also giving a message of hope about the future. So you know how you do that? You kind of leave the gauntlet down and walk out of the room, you know. So I walked out, that was good. Didn't agree to do anything. Oh dear, I teach a yoga class every night. Those meetings are on, that's me done. I hope it all goes well. And then a few months later, I got contacted by the organisers saying, you know, you were saying about that ordinary woman from Belfast getting up. You're it. And here I am. Oh, and of course my first response was to say, you know, I know lots of other really extraordinary women. Get them up on the stage. This isn't the stage for me. But because of opening a centre called the Lighthouse Centre, which is about a place where people can share their gifts, it felt like this is a moment. This is my coming out party, okay? This is me practicing what I preach and getting up in front of all you to share my story. And so the theme for today is leap and the net will appear. I've leapt, and in the next 10 minutes, I'm hoping the net kind of appears and that I give you something useful over the next few moments. So the 2nd of April, 2011 was the day that I thought my world was coming to an end. After a marriage that lasted 29 years, that was the day that I finally accepted that the marriage was over, that that relationship wasn't serving either of us any longer, and it was time to move on. Now, some of you might relate to this, that kind of years of in and out. Should I stay? Should I go? Can I try? If I do this, things will be different. But the 2nd of April 2011 was the day whenever I recognised that it was over. And of course, that was a massively traumatic moment. Over the next couple of days, all of the kind of strategies that I'd used over the years to carry myself through difficult times, the yoga, meditation, all of that, didn't seem to be working. So the way you do whenever you want to distract yourself, I went online and I went into this website from a meditation teacher that some of us, and some of us are here, had been working with, a guy called Harshita Wagner, based in New York. And I thought, I wonder if I went onto his website, is there a meditation that'll heal a broken heart? You know how you kind of tell yourself these things? And in fact, there wasn't. It's not as simple as that. But what jumped up on the screen was an invitation to join Harshita for 2 weeks in India, just over 2 weeks, for a meditation pilgrimage. And something happened right at that moment. You know, sometimes in your life, and I think especially this is true for women, you get a feeling in your gut that's about your intuition speaking to you, a feeling in your heart that's about your heart speaking to you. Both of them screamed and said, you're going to India. But there's the feeling in the head that says, don't be silly, you've lost your senses, you know, blah, 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 all of that stuff. But something happened and I knew I was going to India in August that year. It was a crazy kind of notion. I had absolutely no money, my marriage had just ended, and my poor, long-standing friends, some of whom are in the audience, had to hear from me every moment, do you know what, I'm going to India in August? And I could see them kind of looking a bit sorry but I knew I was going to India, and I knew that that's what I needed. Something inside told me that. A month later, on the 9th of May, was my 50th birthday, and there was a party organised. And at that birthday party, everyone who came in had an envelope with some money in it, you know, whether it was £10, because that's what they could afford, or £100. And in all of the cards, there was little messages saying, this is for the India Fund. So by the end of that weekend, The money was there to go to India. That meant I had to go. And that was a scary thing. So, you know, the net had appeared, and off I went to India. What happened was then, next thing, fast forward, and it's in August the same year, I'm sitting in this mountain in India with all these people from America, and a woman from Germany, and this meditation teacher. A lot of inner work was going on, and I was terrified. So I threw the rattle out of the pram, and I said to the teacher, can you tell me what the flip I'm doing here in India, you know? And he said, you know what, for 3 days I've been wondering what that crazy Irish woman's doing here too, you know? But you know what? Our karma is we're both here together, so let's do the work. So there's no choice, so we did the work. And what began to happen was that day and daily, I found myself sharing stories about what had happened during the Troubles here that I hadn't shared with my best friends. In fact, some stories that I hadn't shared with my husband or my family. Things that I've seen, that I had done what a lot of people in Ireland do, we kind of dismissed it. You know, we say the Troubles didn't really affect us, or those kind of stories. And yet I was recounting stories and remembering stories of seeing people being shot, being around places that were blown up, all kinds of stuff that I hadn't shared. And it became really clear to me, as I began to reflect on that and being out of a culture, being out of a comfort zone, I knew that that was the case for very many people in Ireland as well. And so, at 50, the healing that I should have got earlier, I hadn't got because I simply hadn't told my story. You'll understand why today is a coming out party. So what I realised then and what I knew then was that when I came back to Belfast, I was going to create a space where people who had been through trauma, whether it was the Troubles or whether it was another trauma, who might possibly not be able to access the kind of healing and help that I've been able to get over the years, where they could find that in North Belfast and not have to go to India to find the kind of healing, or to London, or to Dublin, you know, that they would find it on their doorsteps. This is a little village called, a little town called Alandi, and while we were there, the monsoon was on, and this whole area that you can see is underwater. People could be losing their houses if the water kept rising. And one night we were standing there in pitch black dark, the monsoon was raging, the winds were going, and at that moment I knew that I was going to come back and set up the lighthouse. And the funny thing is, and this may be where it gets a bit woo-woo, if it hasn't been woo-woo up until now, this big tall yellow structure is a kind of a structure at the top of which is a very bright light. And just as I had this notion that I was coming back to set up a Lighthouse Centre where people could find access to these kind of healing modalities, the light came on and the whole sky was bright. And I thought, ooh, scary. So, came back to Belfast and decided to take the leap to set up the Lighthouse Centre, which has now been set up on the Cave Hill Road. In July this year, I left a full-time job as a director of a voluntary agency, and I'm now working, and I absolutely appreciate what was said earlier, follow your passions and you don't feel like you're working a day. So the theme for today has been the space within. The space within that I'm interested in is the space within here. This part of us where we keep our fears, our limiting beliefs, and all of the stuff that stops us from following our dreams and doing what we want. And so the Lighthouse is about giving people a space where they can do that inner work. But I wanted to set up a space within physically, which was based on feminine principles, that was based on using feminine energy to move things forward, rather than using the masculine type of energy that I'd had to use over the years before, where I felt I was in control, where I had to be in charge, where I had to take action. And so some of the things that I wanted to see happening in the Lighthouse were, first of all, could we bring people together in a spirit of collaboration, not competition? Healers, teachers, whoever had something to share. Could they come together and work to support each other is the primary motive for coming together, and then from that get support themselves. I also wanted to create a space where anyone doing leadership work, including myself, but other people there, would have a leadership style that was about creating a circle of giving. This is based on a notion that if we want to get out of our own pity party that goes on up here, very often we can do that by serving other people. So by giving, we're actually receiving. It would have to be a space where I wouldn't be selective about the type of healing or the type of services that might be offered. So if it evidences that it works, if people show that it works, then we need to find a space of getting it in so that other people can access it. And last and absolutely definitely not least, there had to be a sense of joy in the building and a sense of happiness in what we do. I don't know about you, but I've been around a lot of people who have done this kind of inner work, and they're the most miserable. You know, we had a yoga festival last year, and my wonderful daughter, who's here today, was at it. And at the end of the festival, she was saying, you know, some of the people who did all that work were more miserable walking out the door than they were when they came in. I was saying that's because they were confronting their demons, they'll be all right. So there has to be a sense of joy. This is a belief that laughter is the best medicine. And so that was the kind of big picture stuff. After the big picture stuff was clear to me, how it happened, I let go of. I took the leap, and how it happened was just going to be a mystery. And so this is where we are now. The Lighthouse Centre did open its doors. It's still developing. It's a baby. You know, it opened in July. I gave up my job in July. So it's, what, 4 or 5 months? And yet this is what we have begun to do in that short time. This is what's called Going with the Flow. There's an absolutely beautiful slideshow in the middle of that with all kind of pictures, but I'll tell you a little bit about it. We ran Ireland's first wellness meditation yoga festival last year in Westmeath. We had the teacher who I met in India over teaching people in Ireland, you know, so that was just the start of it. And it'll happen again next year. Flourish Fest will happen in May next year. The centre is opened. We have created a space where people are offering all of the individual treatments, where workshops are being offered, where meditation groups are meeting, study groups are meeting. Downstairs there's a gift shop. We have fabulous, we have fabulous yogurt nights once a month where people with a learning disability have been supported to overcome some of their fears about accessing complementary therapies, and they come every month and do that. I could go on and on. Downstairs we have a community cafe which has taken forward the Pay It Forward movement in Ireland. This Pay It Forward concept that if each of us did a good deed for 3 people, and those 3 people did a good deed for another 3 people, within 4 weeks they've worked out like something like the whole world will be changed anyway. 4,700,000 and something people will have had a good deed done to them, you know, and that's got to raise the energy. So we have agreed in the Lighthouse to set up Pay It Forward Ireland from the Lighthouse Centre. So all of that within a couple of months, really. And so my call to you is, all of that was possible because the leap was taken, and then the net did appear. Just a few things that if you want to take the leap, if you're in that relationship you want to leave, if you're in that job you want to get out of, do these couple of things. First of all, commit absolutely to your dream, and the heck with the naysayers. People will always tell you why you shouldn't do it, you know. Go for the follow your dream first. Secondly, learn to receive. As women, we give, and then there's no room to receive. I can tell you, learn to receive, and you're doing other people a favour by letting them in to be part of your dream. Thirdly, go with the flow. Work out the big picture, let the details take care of themselves, and believe me, magic begins to happen as soon as we do that. That's a feminine energy thing anyway, so if we can get firmly into that, magic and miracles just begin to happen. And I'm just going to move quickly on to the last one. Laugh a lot. Don't take yourself too seriously. You know, we're only here for a quick ride on this planet. It was my 50th birthday that this turnaround happened. I thought then the years ahead were going to be less than the years behind. I don't know, maybe I'll still be teaching yoga when I'm 100, so I'm not quite giving up on that idea. But life's very short. Laugh a lot, and just enjoy it. And then just sleep. Just sleep. Take the leap, follow the gut, follow the heart. Let the fears up here go to one side and see what happens. And just take the leap, enjoy it, and thanks very much for your time today. Thank you.